what that touch should just seen is a pass end up in front of where it was passed from, and the player who passed it end up behind where it was caught, and think it was a forward pass. So it was a wrong call, but it was an understandable wrong call. I think. I don't think I just think that's like Lee said, them's the breaks. But it was a shame. But actually, it shouldn't overshadow what was a fantastic game of rugby league. It against two teams that are looking like real contenders this year. So, and they've not been for a while, these two teams. So I think it was a real.
The Eels got to grand final last year, didn't they?
Sorry?
Didn't the Eels get to a final last year?
No, the final was the Roosters against Raiders.
What did the Eels get?
They got into the playoffs. Yeah, they're on the rise. The Eels are on the rise from a very low point, and the Sea Eagles have kind of had a bit of a lull, and they've got some star players and are starting to get the shit back together. But these two sides are, they are two good sides this year, and they played out a good game. I do think a very close game, a very tightly contested game, and the fact that it came down to such a marginal situation of that pass just shows that these two teams are evenly matched, and I think we will see them play each other again in the finals. But I enjoyed watching the game, I really did. A game that I watched some of, but not all of, because to be honest I don't take much joy out of these two teams at the moment, but it was the Cowboys versus the Sharks, and it was the Cowboys 16, the Sharks 26.
Yeah, Lee Whitnell said poor handling, poor decision making and poor luck all counted against the Cowboys in a game where Cronulla were there to be beaten. No Tamalolo was huge. When the game was in the balance, I think his go forward would have made the difference.
And Carlton says, Cowboys lost because our players had feet for hands again. Another reference to that tonight. And our winger is 5 feet and can't jump. Defence was optional.
This was a close game for large parts, but the Sharks, it felt like the tries that the Sharks scored were quite easy to score, and that would be the worry for Carlton and his Cowboys, I would say.
Yeah.
Did anyone else watch this one at all?
No.
No one likes watching the Sharks, do they? Let's face it. Okay, so the Raiders versus the Knights. Sadly, our British boys came out on the losing end in this, and it finished up the Raiders 18, the Knights 34. Josh Hodgson made 41 tackles, so he did work hard. George Williams had another 2 try assists in this game, arguably 3 try assists, but I'm pretty sure Josh Papali did very much all of the work for his try his own, but the last pass was from Williams. And Elliot Whitehead played his part as well for the Raiders, but sadly not to any avail.
No, and surprisingly, Lee Whitnell got in touch and said, for the whole time I've watched NRL, Newcastle have been a plucky little battler team that more often than not served up utter dog shit. Today they looked like awesome, relentless contenders. A great advert for the talent distribution that the franchise model creates. I thought Williams did pretty well in a losing performance, but they were second best throughout.
Yeah, they were. We haven't seen the Knights be like this for so many years, but they were Storm-like in the way they played. They controlled the sort of go forward of the game, the physicality of the game, and then they just left it for those moments where Pitts got it to Ponga, and Kalen Ponga just exploded a number of times in this game, kind of like we saw last week from say Travojevic from Manly and that sort of situation. He just injected himself a number of times into the game and really did help create some massive opportunities for the Knights, and the Knights deserved the win because they controlled everything else and then just picked those moments like the Storm did against the Rabbitohs. But George Williams, two tries from 2 of his kicks. He showed some promise in a game where his forward pack laid very little platform. My take on the Raiders, even from the first 5 minutes, was they look a bit like, I don't want to say busted or deflated or anything like that, but they looked a bit tired from the week before. They didn't have the same intensity. Maybe they were coming into it a bit complacently, like, we beat Storm, we can beat the Knights, bloody hell, we beat the Storm. But they came into it with some sort of dropped down in intensity, and the Knights took full advantage. That's my take on this. But well done, Georgie, getting 2 more try assists. Good lad.
Said like a proud parent.
Oh, I love him. If he was my kid, his nose wouldn't be so big, though, would it? Let's face it. Did anyone else catch this one, or shall we move on?
What I like about Williams is just how shocked the commentators seem to be. This lad from England, from Wigan, yeah, he's pretty good. Shit, like just every time he plays, they just seem to be surprised at how good he was. Well, but, like, obviously last week he was phenomenal.
Part of that, I think, is Wayne Bennett didn't trust him. So Wayne Bennett didn't really play. Even when he played a good game for England, the next week Wayne Bennett might leave him out or might give him less of a role in the team. His best game that he's ever played internationally was at Anfield against New Zealand, and it feels like he wasn't given the same. Well, the series was wrapped up then, wasn't it? So the next week when they went to Leeds, all the England players had spent all week celebrating or something. I don't know, because they didn't turn up in that game. So that's why they don't recognise him. He hasn't done it against Australia. He did. He set up several tries against Cronulla in the World Club Challenge, but they didn't give a shit about that either. So it is a shock to them, isn't it, that this kid who's 24, 25 can actually turn up and be a very creative player, and was really important to the Raiders. And the Raiders nearly came back into this one in the second half, but then Jack White got a late hit which wasn't penalised, which I was surprised by. And then Williams had to do it all on his own, and we saw him at Wigan try and do it all on his own a few times. And he's a very creative player, but he's not quite creative enough to be 2 halfbacks on one pitch. So
it's really, isn't it?
So the Titans against West Tigers. This was one of those games that not everyone was looking forward to. It's 2 of the lower sort of teams around the league, but this served up a very exciting, if error-strewn, contest, and it finished 28-23 in favour of the Titans. Who did we hear from on this one?
So, POB the Viking got in touch first and said, what a finish. Looked like the Titans blew it, not going for the drop goal, and then the Tigers taking the lead. But a great finish to win the game.
And Lee Whitnell got in touch for once. He says, Titans
busiest ever week, isn't it? You wouldn't have thought he'd been planning for a bloody wedding anniversary on the Monday, all these NRL games over the weekend.
He's maybe getting all of his rugby fixed in before,
Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. The one game he didn't get in touch on was the one from today.
Titans started both halves poorly but grew into each. The decision not to go for a drop goal in the last 2 sets and go for the try seemed foolish, but paid off in an exciting finish. The Tigers should have been well ahead, though. They need to learn how to put their foot on the throat of the teams when they're ahead. But I suppose they wouldn't be the Tigers. In the end, this will be the loss that secures a name.
Yeah, so the way this game played out, the Tigers started brilliantly. The Titans started as how they've played for the last 12 months, and or even longer, really. And the Tigers went into a 2-try lead, but then the Titans came back into it in the second half of the first half and actually looked like contenders from somewhere. I don't understand. Then the second half started off and West pushed out to a double-figure lead again. Looked like it was all sorted. And then it happened again. The Titans came back into it. Now, within all of that, the West Tigers scored one of the greatest tries you're going to see. I don't know if you guys have seen this try, but even the highlight clip off that they did on it for like putting on Twitter missed out half of the play because the play went on that long. It was just loose offload against. It was a last tackle play where there was like loose offloads, forced offloads, random kicks, and then it ended up out with the winger who kicked the ball back inside as he jumped out into touch. Norfoluma, who had a fantastic game, for Joey Leilua to score his first try for West Tigers. It's a fantastic highlight reel moment. Go back and watch it if you've not seen it already. But then as the game got into its closing stages, you kind of was like, which one of these two teams is going to fuck it up more? And you trusted Benji Marshall of West Tigers at least to control things, and he did. He smashed a brilliant drop goal through with a few minutes left to play. He kicked it. He knew it was going through the post. He turned around to walk away back to his own end of the pitch, kind of a bit cockily, but whatever. But you sort of thought, even the Tigers can't lose it against it. They're playing the Titans. But the Titans won the short kickoff. They got themselves into position. They found themselves on the last tackle getting the ball out wide rather than going for a drop goal with like less than a minute left to go. But the winger came arching back in, put a kick through, and the fullback came under the sticks and scored a try. And it was like a really good finish. The first win for Justin Holbrook as the Titans coach. The first win for the Titans in 12 months.
Wow.
So not for nothing. And yeah, the Tigers find it, and then the absolute like breakdown, just a complete meltdown from the Tigers fans on Twitter after this result was fantastic.
There's a lady who I follow on Twitter because her son, and they're massive West Tigers fans, but the kid is also a massive Mahir Fanua fan. So he's now adopted Hull as his team. He's about 7 or 8, I think. And so obviously he was absolutely distraught yesterday when all of this happened and everything else. And then his mum had put on Twitter today, he's decided that the best way to get over a loss is to put on an old win. So he's gone back and is re-watching matches that they won. Just always reminds me a little bit of Joshua.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it was a horror defeat for the West Tigers, but that young kid's got a lot of them more coming if he's a West Tigers hardcore.
Start of the season, he was getting up at like 5 in the morning or whatever to watch the whole matches with Fanua playing.
Oh God, earlier this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even more dispiriting the way Fanua was playing.
I know. But you have to be slightly careful what you say because, Fanua's now big mates with the mum on Twitter, so you can't slate Fanua too much.
Well, you wouldn't slate him too much. I'm sure he'd be aware of the deserved criticism that came from him turning up completely unfit and unable to play him.
As I found out this week, you got to be careful who you slate on Twitter. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we'll get to that. But we've got a couple of NRL bits and pieces to wrap up first. So today, Monday, as we record, it was kind of a bank holiday weekend in Australia, so they had a Monday game, and it was the Bulldogs 22, the Dragons 2. James Graham did play for the Dragons, and despite calls that his career may well be over, he made 162 metres. He also had 38 tackles, 38 successful tackles. So, he did his bit, but his bit isn't good enough because the side around him are utter fucking dog shit. But we had a couple of fan views in that kind of, I guess, express that too. Alan Walker said, 80 days since the try for the Dragons. Luckily, the fans are getting back in next week because that's the only way Mary will be in the stadium. I don't. If the Doggies and Titans get a couple more wins, James Graham could be hanging up his boots with a spoon. Ouch. And then Carsten got in touch. He'd recovered from the fact that his side were dog shit on the Sunday to get in touch to say #DeadV. I enjoy that. Yeah, the Bulldogs were diabolical in this match. They I don't know if you guys caught this morning. I'm off work this week, which meant I was able to watch this Monday fixture, which was exciting.
School this morning.
Oh, the return of the school run. So yeah, the Dragons were awful. The Bulldogs shuffled things around, and Dom, you wouldn't have liked this because not only do they not have the players' names on the back of the shirts, but all of the numbers were in the wrong positions on the field because they'd kind of picked the team at the start of the week and then decided that team was shit last week, so let's put the same players in different positions, and it really did work well for the Bulldogs. They had much more composure and
as you well know, I have no idea what the numbers on the back of the shirt mean, so why would that make a difference to me?
Well, it didn't make a difference to the Dragons either because they had a number 7 out there who they never gave the ball to do anything with. And yeah, you look at that Dragons forward pack and you sort of see some of the names in there and you think all the internationals and origin players and stuff like that in that pack. You got Graham, you got Merrin, you got Vaughan, you got Frizzell. You're thinking you've got Sims. You think this can't be that crap. But something's going wrong there drastically, and they've got no ideas in Attack the Dragons. And Alan's kind of point about how many days it's been, how many minutes it's been as well since they scored a try. It's kind of testament to that. In terms of the standings, the Eels sit top of the table.